Chapter 4. Anna. I ring Mark back. Leave a message about the card that makes so little sense I have to stop, take a breath, then explain myself again. Call me as soon as you get this, I finish. Suicide? Think again. The meaning is clear. My mother was murdered. The hair on the back of my neck are still prickling, and I turn slowly around, taking in the wide stairs behind me, the open doors on either side, with their floor to ceiling windows. No one there. Of course there isn't. But the card in my hand has unnerved me, as surely as if someone had broken into the house and put it directly into my hand, and it no longer feels as though Ella and I are alone in the house. I stuff the card back into the envelope. I need to get out of here. Rita! There's a scuffle from the kitchen, followed by a skittering of claws on the tiles, the results of a rehoming appeal. Rita is part of Cypress Poodle, part several other breeds. She has auburn whiskers that fall over her eyes and around her mouth, and in the summer, when she's clipped, the white patches on her coat look like snow. She licks me enthusiastically. We're going out. Never one to be asked twice. Rita races to the front door, where she cocks her head and looks at me impatiently. The pram is in the hall, tucked beneath the curves of the stairs, and I push the ominous card into the shopping basket at the bottom, covering it with a blanket as though not seeing it changes the fact that it's there. I pick up Ella just as she's morphing from contentment to grouchiness. Suicide, think again. I knew it. I've always known it. My mother had a strength that I wish I had a tenth of, a confidence I covered still. She never gave up. She wouldn't have given up on life. Ella roots for my breast again, but there's no time. I don't want to be in the house for another minute. Let's go and get some fresh air, shall we? I find the change bag in the kitchen, check for the essentials, nappies, wipes, muslins, and throw in my purse and the house keys. This is usually the point at which Ella will fill her nappy or throw up her milk and require a full set of clean clothes. I sniff cautiously at her bottom and conclude that she's fine. Right, let's go. There are 3 stone steps that lead down from the front door to the gravelled area between the house and the pavement. Each step dips in the middle, where countless feet have trod over the years. As a child, I would jump off the bottom step, my confidence growing with my years until, accompanied by my mother's "do be careful," I could leap from the top step and land square-footed on the drive, my arms raised before invisible applause. Ella in one arm, I bounced the pram down the steps before putting her inside and tucked the blankets firmly around her. The cold snap shows no sign of lifting, and the pavements glitter with frost. The gravel makes a dull crunch as frozen clumps break apart beneath my feet. Anna! Our neighbour Robert Drake is standing on the other side of the black railings that separate our house from his. The properties are identical, 3-story Georgian houses with long back gardens and narrow outdoor passages that run from front to back between each houses. My parents moved to Eastbourne in 1992 when my unexpected appearance had curtailed their London lives and launched them into married life. My late grandfather bought the house 2 streets from where Dad had grown up for cash. It's the only currency people listen to, Annie. And I imagine for significantly less than Robert paid when he bought the neighbouring property 15 years later. I've been thinking about you, Robert says. It's today, isn't it? He gives a sympathetic smile and tilts his head to one side. The action reminds me of Rita, except that Rita's eyes are warm and trusting. And Robert's, your mother, he added, in case I'm not following. There's a touch of impatience in his voice, as though I should be more grateful for his compassion. Robert is a surgeon, and although he has never been anything but friendly towards us, he has an intense, almost clinical gaze that makes me feel as though I'm on the operating table. He lives alone, mentioning the nieces and nephews who occasionally visit with the detachment of a man who had never had and never wanted children of his own. I wrap Rita's lead around the handle of the pram. Yes, it's today. It's kind of you to remember. Anniversaries are always tough. I can't listen to any more platitudes. I was just taking Ella out for a walk. Robert seems glad, of the change of subject. He peers through the railings. Hasn't she grown? There are so many blankets around Ella he couldn't possibly see, but I agree and tell him what percentage she's on, which is probably more detail than he needed. Excellent. Jolly good. Well, I'll let you go on. The drive is the width of the house, but only just deep enough for cars. Iron gates never close in my lifetime. Lie flat against the railings. I say goodbye, then push the pram through the opening into the pavement. Across the street is a park, a grown-up space with complicated planning and signs that keep you off the grass. My parents would take in turns to walk Rita there. Last thing at night, and she strains now at the lead. But I pull her back and push the pram towards town instead. At the end of the row of townhouses, I turn right. I glance back towards Oakview, and as I do, I realize Robert is still standing on his driveway. He looks away and walks back into his house. We walk along Chestnut Avenue, where glossy railings flank more double-fronted townhouses. Bay tree sentries wrapped in twinkling white lights. One or two of the huge houses on the avenue have been turned into flats, but most are still intact. Their wide front doors uncluttered by doorbells and letterboxes. Christmas trees are positioned in bay windows, and I catch glimpses of activity in the high ceiling rooms beyond. In the first, a teenager boy flops on a couch. In the second, small children race across the room, heady with festive excitement. At number 6, an elderly couple read from their respective papers. The door to number 8 is open. A woman, late 40s, I guess, standing in a French grey hall with one hand resting lightly on the door. I nod a hello, but although she lifts a hand in greeting, she laughs. The laughing smile is directed towards a gentle, swabbling Truro wrestling Christmas tree from the car to the house. Careful, you're going to drop it. Left a bit. Watch the door. A peal of laughter from the teenage girl, a wry grin from her clumsy brother. You have to lift it over the railings. Dad directing proceedings, getting in the way, proud of his children. For a second, it hurts so much I can't breathe. I squeeze my eyes shut. I miss my parents so badly, at different times and in ways I could never have predicted. 2 Christmases ago, that would have been me and Dad with the tree, Mum scolding from the door. There would have been tins of roses, chocolates, too much booze, and enough food to feed the 5,000. Laura arrived with a pile of presents if she'd just started a job. IOUs and apologies if she's just left one. Dad and Uncle Billy arguing about nonsense. Flipping a coin to settle a bet. Mum getting emotional and putting Driving Home for Christmas on the CD player. Mike would say I'm looking at the past through rose-tinted glasses, but I can't be alone in wanting to only remember the good times. And rose-tinted or not, my life changed forever when my parents died. Suicide? Think again. Not suicide. Murder. Someone stole the life I had. Someone murdered my mother. And if they murdered Mum, it followed that Dad didn't kill himself either. My parents were murdered. I gripped the handle of Ella's pram more tightly, unsteadied by a wave of guilt for the months I've raged against my parents for taking the easy way out, for thinking of themselves above those they were leaving behind. Maybe I was wrong to blame them. Maybe leaving me wasn't their choice. Johnson's car showroom is on the corner of Victoria Road and Main Street, a beacon of light at the point where shops and hairdressers give way to flats and houses on the outskirts of town. The fluttering buntings I remember from my childhood has long gone, and heaven knows what Granddad would have made of the iPads tucked under the sales rep's arms, or the huge flat screen scrolling that week's special deal. I crossed the forecourt, navigating Ella's pram between a sleek Mercedes and a second-hand Volvo. The glass doors slide soundlessly open as we draw near, warm air luring us in. Christmas music plays through expensive speakers behind the desk where Mum used to sit, a striking girl with caramel skin and matching highlights, tap acrylic nails on her keyboard. She smiles at me, and I catch the flash of diamante fixed to one of her teeth. Her style couldn't be more different to Mum's. Perhaps that's why Uncle Billy hired her. It can't be easy coming into work Day after day, the same but different, like my house, like my life. Annie, always Annie, never Anna. Uncle Billy is Dad's brother and the very definition of confirmed bachelor. He had a handful of female friends, content with Friday night dinners and the occasional jaunt to London to see a show, and a regular poker night with the boys, the first Wednesday of the month. Occasionally I suggest Bev or Diane or Shirley join us for a drink sometime. Billy's response is always the same. I don't think so, Annie love. His dates never become anything more serious. Dinner is always just dinner. A drink's always just that, and although he books the nicest hotels for trips to London and lavishes upon his companion of choice, it's always months before he sees her again. Why do you keep them all at arm's length? I demanded once, after too many of what's known in our family as a Johnson's G&T. Billy winked at me, but his tone was serious. Because that way no one gets hurt. I wrapped my arms around him and inhaled the familiar mix of aftershave and tobacco, along with something indefinable that makes me bury my face in his jumper. He smells like Granddad did, like Dad did, like all the Johnson men. Only Billy left now. I pull away, decide to just come out with it. Mum and Dad didn't commit suicide. There's a look of resignation in Uncle Billy's face. We've been here before. Oh, Annie, only this time it's different. They were murdered. He looked at me without saying anything, anxious eyes scanning my face. Then he ushers me into the office, away from the punters, and settles me into the expensive leather chair that's been here since forever. Buy cheap, buy twice, Dad used to say. Rita flops on the floor. I look at my feet, remembering how they used to dangle off the edge of the seat and how gradually they stretched to reach the floor. I did work experience here too. I was 15, encouraged to think about joining the family business until it became clear I had struggled to sell water in the Sahara. Dad was a natural. What is it they say? Ice to the Eskimos. I used to watch him sizing up customers, prospects, he called them. He'd take in the car they were driving, the clothes they wore, and I'd see him select the right approach like he was choosing from a menu. He was always himself, always Tom Johnson, but his accent would slide a few notches up or down, or he'd declare himself a devotee of Watford FC, the Cure, chocolate Labradors. You could pinpoint the moment the connection happened, the second the customer decided they and Dad were on the same wavelength, that Tom Johnson was a man to be trusted. I couldn't do it. I tried mimicking Dad, tried working with Mum on the desk and copying the way she smiled at customers and asked after the kids, but it sounded hollow even to me. I don't think our Annie's cut out for sales, Billy said, not unkindly. When my work experience was up, no one disagreed. Funny thing is, sales is exactly where I've ended up. That's what charity work comes down to in the end, after all. Selling monthly donations, sponsored children legacies, and bequests. Selling guilt to those with the means to help. I've been with Save the Children since I left uni, and it never once felt hollow. Turns out I just never felt that passionate about selling cars. Billy's wearing a navy pinstripe suit, his red socks and braces lending him a Wall Street air I know is entirely deliberate. Billy does nothing by accident. On anyone else, I'd find the bling crass, but Billy wears it well, even if the braces are straining over his stomach slightly, with a touch of irony that makes him enduring rather than flashy. He's only 2 years younger than Dad, but his hairline shows no sign of receding, and what grey there might be around his temple is carefully touched up. Billy takes the same pride in his appearance as he does in the showroom. What's all this about, Annie? He's gentle, the way he always was when I fell over, or when I'd had a spat in the playground. Tough day? I've been out of sorts myself today. Be glad when it's over, to be honest. Anniversaries, eh? Full of memories. Beneath the brusqueness, there's a vulnerability that makes me vow to spend more time with him. I used to come by the showroom all the time, but since Mum and Dad died, I've made excuses even to myself. I'm too busy. Ella's too small. The weather's too bad. Truth is, it hurts to be here. But that isn't fair. Come for supper tomorrow night? Billy hesitates. Please? Sure, that'll be nice. The glass between Billy's office and the showroom is tinted one way, and on the other side of it, I see one of the salesmen shaking hands with a customer. He glances towards the office, hoping his big boss is watching. Billy nods approvingly. A mental note filed away for the next appraisal. I watch him looking for the tell, trying to read his mind. Trade's been slow. Dad was the driving force, and his death hit Uncle Billy hard. When Mum went too, there was a moment when I thought he was going to fall apart. I'd not long discovered Ella was on the way, and I'd come down to the showroom to see Uncle Billy, only to find the place in disarray. The office was empty, the disposable coffee cups littered the low tables in the waiting area, customers wandering unaccompanied between cars on the forecourt. At reception, Kevin, a newish sales rep with a shock of ginger hair, perched on the desk, flirting with the receptionist, an agency temp who had started the week after Christmas. But where is he? Kevin shrugged. He didn't come in today. And you didn't think to call him? In the car, on the way to Billy's place, I ignored the rising panic in my chest. He'd taken a day off, that was all. He wasn't missing. He wouldn't do that to me. I rang the bell, hammered on the door, and just as I was fumbling in my bag for my mobile, my lips already forming the words familiar from my parents' inquest. This is a fear for welfare. Billy opened the door. Fine red lines covered the white of his eyes. His shirt was open. His suit jacket crumbled enough to tell me he'd slept in it. A waft of alcohol hit me, and I hoped it was from the previous evening. Who's running the shop, Uncle Billy? He stared past me to the street where an elderly couple were making slow progress along the pavement, a wheeled shopping basket in their wake. I can't do it. I can't be there. I felt a surge of anger. Didn't he think I wanted to give up? Did he think he was the only one finding this hard? Inside the house was a mess. A greasy film covered the glass-topped coffee table in the sitting room. Dirty plates littered the kitchen surfaces. Nothing in the fridge but a half-empty bottle of white wine. It wasn't unusual to find no proper meals in the house. Uncle Billy considered eating out to be the primary advantage of single life, but there was no milk, no bread, nothing. I hid my shock, dumped the plates on the sink, wiped the counters, and picked up the post from the hall floor. He gave me a tight smile. You're a good girl, Annie. You're on your own with the laundry. I'm not washing your underpants. My anger had passed. This wasn't Billy's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. I'm sorry. I know. I gave him a big hug. Okay. You need to get back to work, though, Billy. They're just kids. What's the point? We had 6 punter shot yesterday, all tie kickers. Tie kickers are just boys who don't know. Yeah. Dad's favourite saying brought a lump in my throat. Billy squeezed my arm. He was so proud of you. He was proud of you too. Proud of what the two of you achieved with the business. I waited a bit. Don't let him down. Billy was back at work by lunchtime, putting out rocket up Kevin's ass and offering a bottle of champagne to the first rep to make a sale. I knew it would take more than a champagne to get Johnson's cars on its even keel, but at least Billy was at the helm again. It was Dad who'd had the tinted glass installed a few weeks after Granddad retired, and Billy and Dad had moved into the office, a desk on either side of the room. Keep them on their toes. Keep them from catching you having 40 wings, more like. Mum could see through the Johnson's boys, always had. Billy turns his attention back to me. I've had thought that man of yours would have taken today off. It's Mark, not that man. I wish you'd have given him a chance. I will, just as soon as he makes an honest woman of you. It's not the 1950s, Billy. Fancy leaving you on your own today. He's offered to stay home. I said I was fine. Clearly. I was before this arrived. I fished in the bottom of Ella's pram for the card and gave it to Billy. I watch his face as he takes in the celebratory greeting, the carefully typed messages stuck inside. There's a long pause. Then he puts the card back in its envelope. His jaws tightens. Sick bastards. Before I can stop him, he rips the card in two and then in two again. What are you doing? I've leapt out of my chair and snatched back the torn pieces of card. We need to take this to the police. The police? Think again, it's a message. They're suggesting Mum was pushed. Maybe Dad too. Annie, love, we've been through this 100 times. You don't seriously believe your parents were murdered? Yes. My bottom lip wobbled, and I clammed it shut for a moment to regain some control. Yes, I do. I've always thought something was wrong. I never thought either of them was capable of suicide. Least of all Mum, when she knew how much Dad's death affected us all. And now, it's someone shit stirring, Annie. Stop some jumped up prick who thinks it's funny to troll the obituaries and torment grieving families, like the shits who look through funeral listings to see where to go out burgling. They probably sent a dozen others at the same time. Even though I know it's the sender of the card who's wound him up, it feels like his anger's directed at me. I stand up. Even more reason for me to go to the police with it then, so they can find out who sent it. My tone is defensive. It's that or bursting into tears. This family never used to run to the police. We used to sort out our own problems. Problems? I don't understand why Billy seems so obtuse. Doesn't he see this changes everything? This isn't a problem, Billy. It isn't some argument you can settle out the back of the pub. It could be murder. And I care what happens to my mum, even if you don't. Too late, I bit my tongue. Billy turns away, but not before I've seen the hurt on his face. I stand helplessly for a while, looking at the back of his head and trying to say sorry, but the words won't come. I push Ella's pram out of the office, leaving the door wide open. If Billy won't help me, I'll go to the police on my own. Someone murdered my parents, and I'm going to find out who.